Alright, and hello everybody, I'm the Super27, and welcome to another Dokkan Battle video. Now, my comment section as of late has been insane, and I have been a little bit overwhelmed with the sheer amount of comments. I know there's a lot I haven't responded to yet. I'm going to respond to them essentially immediately after making this upload, but I did see this, and this inspired pretty much this entire video, so shout out to the homie Flappy Seal. Because they said that we should be getting a Peppy Gal banner halfway through August, something that I hadn't even considered, coinciding with the release of Roshi, which makes way more sense once we take into account that he actually is a 200% leader for this category. And Peppy Gal actually has a lot of hitters, a lot of very powerful units, a couple of whom we'll be talking about throughout this video, and they're just going to get more additions. So normally every Peppy Gal banner, there are 2 Peppy Gals that are brand new to the game. They have double rates on the banner, meaning that you're twice as likely to get any of these brand new characters, and they can have some hit or misses. We'll talk about a few more of them here in a little bit. But looking at Roshi, Roshi's a character who wants to have 4 Peppy Gals on the team. So out of the 7 units you have on your team, he has this part of his passive right here, which gives him, what is it? He gets an extra 3 key, an extra 20% damage reduction, and 150% attack and defense when he performs a super attack, with 2 or more allies who are also on the Turtle School. I believe that this is Turtle School. I think that's what that translates to. I know it looks, this is Roshi Ryu, and this is Kami Sin Ryu, but I'm assuming, that's Turtle School, and I'm assuming this is also Turtle School. So obviously when you're running him optimally, you would run him, you would run his friend lead, and then you would run a character just like UI. So having the friend Roshi and another Goku character, literally pretty much every single Goku in the game is on Turtle School, that would be activating the rest of his passive. So that means you can just flood the rest of the team with Peppy Gals, so that you'd be able to get this part of his passive. So he gets, you know, an extra 82% for each Peppy Gal category ally attacking in the same turn, and then if it is a Bulma, he gets an extra 82% attack, and then he has a high chance, 50% chance to crit. So obviously this just kind of solidifies his spot into slot 2 or slot 3. You put your Goku into slot 1, or potentially some of these very powerful Peppy Gals that we have into slot 1, and then Roshi can just kind of cook from there. So, as it stands right now, I would say that there's already 4 very powerful options that you can run on this team, and we're just going to be getting more and more and more. And we can discuss a couple of them in detail. The main one that I want to talk about is obviously Bunny Girl Bulma, who is on his banner as well, and she is pretty phenomenal, I would say, because she is just a very good, support unit. Now, from what I understand is how this works is this is not a multiple applicative buff. So if a unit would be both on Dragon Ball Saga, Earth Red Fighters, and Peppy Gal, they would not be getting an extra 150 to stats. She just gives these 3 categories 1 key and 50 to stats. So a character like herself wouldn't be getting this huge buff, which would be kind of insane if she did give someone who was on all of these categories 3 key and 150 to stats. Like, I think she would just be, like, that would solidify her probably as the best support unit in the entire game. But seeing as she is a build-up dodge character, she could be an 80% chance to dodge before she receives a hit, 70% after she takes a hit, and after she does all of her supers, she should be relatively tanky. She is a phenomenal pick for this team. Then obviously we have LR Bulma. Now, LR Bulma is not like the slot 1 god she used to be. She has also kind of solidified herself as a slot 2 or a slot 3 unit. She is a character who is a little bit orb hungry, but she does create her own orbs, and all things considered, you really only have to give her 5 orbs. And she's going to perform very well by giving all of the allies the 2 turn support. If you give her the 7, then yeah, she does get a guaranteed super. She will look more impressive with 7 orbs, but it's not required. 5 orbs is all you have to give her. Which again, isn't always the easiest when you have to put her in slot 2 or slot 3. But she does kind of remedy that by creating her own orbs. And she is pretty, like, competent in terms of defense, because she does have her guard for the first couple of turns. She does have the build-up damage reduction mechanic, so each turn that she is on, it's not each turn from her first appearance, so she gets 7% damage reduction each turn that she appears right here. Now, if it was the turns that she was also off a rotation, I feel like she would be much more relevant, because you would have 7% damage reduction turn 1, and then on her second turn, turn 3, she would have 21% damage reduction, when in actuality, she only gets 14. So she builds up very, very, very slow. She has to show up 11 times for her to be fully built up defensively, which you're not going to see. Even in, like, these hardest fights in the game, a lot of our units are just way, way too offensively capable for you to be able to go through some of these fights that slow. And I don't think you really even want to go that slow with her. But you could theoretically do it. She is very, very good. And with just a massive amount of support on this team, like if we go back and look at this, Roshi's giving 50% support to his categories. Bunny Girl Bulma, she's giving 50 support to her categories. And if we look at this Bulma, she's giving 2-turn 37% support. So all of these units on this team are going to look way, way, way stronger than they probably ever have before. And a character like this Bulma will actually link quite well with Bunny Girl Bulma. Yeah, they share 6 out of 7. The only thing they do not share would be legendary power. But she doesn't have money, money, money. Is that the link that you have that she doesn't? Yeah, money, money, money. Which is... That's actually a pretty good link right there. 20% defense and 2 ki. Not a very common link, but with the unit who we'll be discussing here in just a little bit, you could actually potentially get money, money, money activated on this Bulma. The next character who I want to really quickly go over is my darling Kefla. She's one of my favorite releases of this year. She is super fun to use. Now, granted, she is not a great slot 1 option, and she is a coin flip character, where, you know, obviously you have to give her 3 orbs so that she gets her 50% chance to dodge. 50% chance to dodge can certainly be dicey, especially since post-super she can tank relatively well, but before anything, you can't really put her in a slot 1. I know it's pretty crazy to think that a character with 200% defense at the start of turn can't go into slot 1, but that's just kind of the meta that we're in right now. She doesn't have any other defensive mechanics, she doesn't have guard, she doesn't have damage reduction, she is just a pure dodge character. But if you put her into slot 2 or 3, you give her orbs. If you give her 6 orbs especially, she's able to launch multiple of these. She does get very, very good. She's also a stacker, so that'll be a huge offensive presence on this team, because we're looking at Bulma. Bulma can do competent damage, but her damage isn't going to be anything impressive. Same thing with this character. I can't imagine this character is going to be doing like huge attack stats. If anything, it's going to be competent levels, you know, because she is getting an extra 180%. So she'll essentially be at 300% stats after super attacking, and she does get 30%. Oh no, she gets 86% attacking defense. Excuse me, she gets way more stats on her super attack effect than I thought. So she should probably be rocking around. I would say, just base looking at her kit, I know this is going to be a huge margin of error, but I'm going to say roughly this character's super attack is going to be anywhere from 5 million to 10 million. Now, seeing that 10 million, saying that it's just competent is kind of funny to think about, but I don't know with just all the support. I don't actually know what her game is going to be able to hit up. I don't know. And this is a character who, again, her best, she's going to look the best on this team, because again, she's giving herself 50% support here. This Roshi would also be giving her support. If you're running Bulma, which I think you should if you're running this team, she's getting an extra 37 here. You run her on any other category that she is on, she will be a very good unit. Again, I just kind of view her as like a diet Chi-Line. You can run her on, this is Youth, Dragon Ball Saga, Peppy Gal, this is Earthbred Fighter, and Seeker of the Dragon Balls. So if you run her in any of this other category, she's not going to look nearly as impressive, but primarily you would really only want to run her on these 3, that way you're also getting the benefit of her. And again, Peppy Gal right now, it's about to be a huge, huge, huge meta-relevant team. And then the final unit, we just mentioned her, it is my darling Chila. She's one of my favorite units pretty much ever. She is, I think, the only character in Dokkan history that you can run her without a leader skill and she will still perform pretty much at her maximum. Now, this isn't the first time Chila is getting a 200%, which should be stated, but this is going to be one of the first time I think her team is going to be super, super meta relevant, because she as well is one of these characters who gives a lot of support, 3 ki and 39% to stats, so it's not as much as like Roshi or anything, and it is just for the 1 turn. But you can see pretty much every character outside of Kefla that we've mentioned so far, they're giving massive, massive, massive amount of support. I would argue, potentially, even though she is a very low start turn defensive character, and she does get extra defense every time she dodges. I think it's every 3 dodges, actually. High chance to dodge. Wait. What is it? 70% chance to dodge, and then each time you avoid an attack, she gets 39% defense for the turn. I think it's every 3 dodges, or is that just for her heal? Every time this character dodges 3, she recovers 39% HP, maximum 3 times. Maybe she does. Maybe I'm misremembering. But if you get a couple of these up, plus this, plus the Bulma support, plus the Bunny Girl Bulma support, plus the Roshi support, I actually think that this character might be able to tank a couple of normals. Not very well, obviously. I'm not saying that like Chila is going to be like a defensive god by any means. But having a scouter on a team like this, where a lot of characters can't necessarily go into these like super tanky spots. But most of the time, again, to be fair, this is an argument that I've seen be thrown around a couple of times, is that most of the big bosses as of right now, they have to super in slot 1, so I don't necessarily know if her guaranteed scouter is the most viable, but there will be situations where a unit will super in slot 2 or slot 3, and you can prepare accordingly. Obviously, having a team like this with a lot of weaker defensive characters, but having dodge be the primary defensive mechanic of the team is actually quite good. So if there's a situation where none of your characters can go into slot 1, but you have Bunny Girl Bulma, there's a 70 to 80% chance that you're living that. Kefla can do the same thing, especially once she transforms, and she gets the guaranteed 70% chance to dodge. Becoming way more reliant, I think it'll also be very, very good. Now, you could also say the problems that running Kefla and Bulma is that they're both orb-hungry characters. At least Bulma creates her own orbs, and Chilai can kind of help subsidize that because she guaranteed rainbow orb changes as well, as we can see right here. This is just like the perfect support unit, and on a team just flooded with support, I think that she will be a really, really good pick. So, Peppy Gal will actually be very, very meta-relevant, especially once we get a couple of easy A's. Now, there are 2 potential easy A's. I think this is going to be the more likely of the 2, with that being Videl. So, Videl, obviously, she is yet another dodge character who she is also a stacker as well. So we'll have a couple of stackers on the team. Roshi stacks, this character stacks, Kefla stacks. So even though maybe this team might not seem the most offensively impressive, once we start considering that like Chilai will probably be run on the team, Bunny Girl Bulma will be run on the team, this Bulma, her damage has kind of been crept out just a little bit. Videl will kind of help subsidize that as well. And if we're just kind of looking at what she's offering, she is just a 50% chance to dodge unit. She does have super effective against all types, high chance of avoiding attacks until she attacks, and then she gets an extra 58% attack after she attacks. So she could go into slot 1 if they buff all of her stats, so they give her just like some guard or damage reduction. She also has this transformation, which I don't think you would get a lot of usage on this team, but you could theoretically do that. I don't actually know what her transformation does. I think it's purely just the aesthetic. No, right here. She gets 20% attack and she loses defense. So probably not the most optimal thing to do. Even on a team like this, flooded with support, because defense right now does just kind of reign supreme. But this will be the most likely character to easy A. I could also see these guys easy A. Again, not necessarily as likely. They are a much newer unit. But they are still quite good. They are a character who, once they do transform into Kefla, you get like a full heal. They are a defensive stacker. Oh, they also stack offense. I thought they were just a defensive stacker. So they do stack both. This is something that you can do with their base kit, just giving them dodge in their base form, or giving them some sort of defense mechanic. Like, this isn't a unit who necessarily needs a whole lot, outside of just getting their stat buffs. If they could go into slot 1, that would be great, because that's kind of what this team is lacking. Again, if we're going to look at Roshi, Roshi himself can't go into slot 1. Yes, he does have 30% damage reduction with his intro, and if you're running him with the 2 other Turtle School units, he does have 50% damage reduction, but we've seen characters like Golden Frieza in 17. They are a unit who at the starter turn has 50% damage reduction, and they cannot go into slot 1. Just because, or at least until they super, they can't go into slot 1. Just because these big boss normals who are supering for 2.2 million, all the way up to like the biggest boss super that I can think of off the top of my head is actually the Frieza and Goku when they're below 50% HP, and they do, I think it's 5.4 off the top of my head. I think that is actually the damage threshold that they do. They launch a 5.4 million once they're below the 50% HP. Even if you cut that in half, 2.2, and then you factor in all this, Roshi's still going to be dead. He's going to take like 700k before he's able to super. Even with like all of this activated, even with all these other character support. Although, I don't know, with all these other character supports, he might be able to take it a little bit better than some people are giving him credit for. Because I've seen a lot of people actually dog water this character, saying that they were trash. We saw it the other day in the video that we did. Some people were saying that Bunny Girl Bulma is better than him. I really have to disagree. I think a lot of people are kind of underrating this character pretty heavily. Now, I'm not trying to say like you should summon for this guy. I wouldn't recommend summoning for Roshi, just because obviously we have the Worldwide Download Celebration less than a month away, or just around a month away, and this is just like one of those filler banners, less hype banners. Even though I think Roshi was a fantastic pick, he is more than deserving of a Dokkan Fest of this caliber. I do understand making him obviously not as appealing to the masses is the smartest decision for the player base as a whole. Obviously, making sure that they save as many stones as possible. Going to one of the biggest celebrations is going to be the unification of the sync. A lot of the times, the Worldwide Download Celebration is like meta-defining. It changes how a lot of characters work. A lot of characters will age out. New fights will come in. We'll be into a new meta. Right now, we're at a little bit of like a longer fight meta with Goku and Frieza. Like, that fight is just full of bullshit. Maybe we might be able to get a fight that's just more stat reliant, or maybe we'll have some fun gimmicks. I don't know, but Worldwide usually brings in some things that change up, shake up what we've kind of been used to Although this year, with all the difficult content, I will say, like, we've already had several meta changes. Like, looking at what the 9th anniversary is offering us global players at the moment with, like, Sword of Hope Trunks, how he has that guaranteed block, and he does a 2.2 right away. Like, that is night and day compared to, like, a fight like Golden Frieza in 17, where they have the dodge nullifying, and you need to have MUI Goku pretty much so that you can nullify the attack targeting mechanic. Then after that, we have a boss that has, like, the damage nullifying threshold, and then all these different little gimmicks. I don't know. But you kind of see what I'm saying. Like, the difficult content that JP is having right now, it is a night and day compared to what Global's going through. And global players, I don't think we're entirely ready, especially since we will be missing such, like, headliner units such as Jiren. And, I mean, we are getting Topo, but, like, by missing out on Jiren, by missing out on Tech MUI, by missing out on, like, Dispo, this Roshi character I feel like would actually be very good on a lot of that content. By just missing out on a lot of these things, I like, whenever we do get those fights, unless, like, whatever we get through worldwide is just definitively better than Beast Gohan and everything, whenever we do get these fights, we're going to be in a world of hurt. So, it'll be fun, it'll be fun. Again, I wouldn't recommend summoning for this guy, even though that I am singing his praises. I think he's just a very underrated unit. And I don't necessarily even know why people are underrating him. Like, I know all he has is 50% damage reduction. That can go as low as 20 on turn 8. I do get that. But his support that he's giving, he himself is stacking a lot of his units. Like, we have a stacker right here. Potentially people are worried because they are thinking, like, alright, well, we're going to run Chilai. Chilai can't do damage. And we're going to be running STR Bulma. STR Bulma can't do damage. And Bunny Girl Bulma probably won't be able to cross the damage thresholds. Even though I think that, again, she should be pretty competent when it comes to damage. But we have options. And, whoops, with a potential really good EZA, I feel like this team has so many options. So, like, speaking of options, we're going to be getting 2 new units. Who do I realistically think could get one? I mean, Chi-Chi could certainly get one. I feel like if Chi-Chi got a new unit, that no one would be complaining. I feel like Launch getting a new unit would probably be pretty smart, because the only, like, meta-relevant Launch, or meta-relevant, I guess. Oh, this is actually another character who we haven't talked about real quick. This is a unit who actually gets way better with PEPPY GALS. So yeah, when there are 2 more PEPPY GAL allies on the team, she orb changes, and this is a character who needs orbs to get dodge and get up to 88% chance to dodge. This will be another unit. We didn't talk about her, but I forgot to pull her up here. But almost having an 88% chance to dodge, you just have to give her rainbow orbs that she creates herself. This is a character who could actually go into slot 1, because she would have the highest dodge chance out of any unit on this team outside of, like, AGL MUI on his first turn, or on his revive turn. Like, even if you're running Tech UI only gets up to a 77. This is the character who can get up to an 88. This would be a good slot 1 for this team, especially if we're running Chilai, who could also help with the rainbow orbs. And it should not be hard to create all those orbs, because, again, Roshi is a character who wants to run, like, 1 Goku, and then the rest of the team wants to be flooded with PEPPY GALS. And PEPPY GALS, even though it's never been the best team, it always has had a lot of very meta-relevant options. You could run this, Caulifla, for example. You could run her in a lot of the brand new Supreme Magnificent Battle Spectacles. I know you probably wouldn't want to run her on the hardest fight because there is that dodge nullifying, but if you are running Tech MUI, you could get away with it. But having a guaranteed dodge unit, guess who can go into slot 1 10 out of 10 times? This character. This is a character who I don't think could really be run. Mamba can't really be run. But I feel like if we got launched, that would be a good one. That would be a very good pick, because the last launch we even got, she EZA'd last year. She starts off in, like, the blue hair form, but you never actually get to use the blue hair form. She instantly transforms. I guess I can show this. But she just instantly transforms. Her transformation condition, sneezes and changes her personality, is on her first appearance. And then we get a character like this, who is just kind of like a Final Form cooler character, where she just does a lot of attacks, with each having, like, a medium chance of being a super. So she can do decent amounts of damage, potentially. But it's not the most common thing to see. You know who I would really want to see in a unit who... I'm going to double check this just to make sure that I'm not just spewing out a bunch of bullshit. I don't think that I am. I would actually want a Mai, not Future. Like a Mai when she was running with, like, the Pilaf gang. I feel like that would be a pretty fun little unit. Who has gotten 0 representation. A Lanfan, or Ranfan, however you pronounce her name. I feel like this could be another, like, fun character, because she's also on, like, Dragon Ball Saga. So I feel like we're more likely to get a Dragon Ball Saga representation. Now, this would be... I don't know if you guys... I know a lot of people haven't seen OG Dragon Ball, so you may not know why this character is infamous. She had a unique way of fighting, I guess we could say. But Pasta could maybe be a good one. She was from the... Oh, what Dragon Ball movie are you from? You are from the one where Goku and Krillin have to go in the Sleeping Princess. Is that what it's called? Where they have to go rescue the princess from like the vampire guy. That might be what movie you were from. I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like getting a Lan fan and a launch would be a good idea. I feel like launch is almost guaranteed, but like a Chi-Chi, maybe like young girl Chi-Chi. Although if I'm not mistaken, no, you are on Peppy Gal because you're right here. There are a couple of like girl characters who aren't actually on Peppy Gal. Like Margarita isn't on here, Vados isn't on here. Pan, none of the Pans are actually on this category, which is a little bit bizarre, I would argue. I understand that like I know like I don't know what this directly like translates to. It's Peachy Peachy Gal. I don't actually know what Peachy Peachy is. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. But like I think it's like energetic or like I don't know. It's something. It's something along those lines where it would like when you actually translate it, it kind of makes sense as to why like some of the girls aren't actually on this category. But how are we gonna have fucking Anine? Anine would be a good one actually, although she wouldn't be on Boyhood Saga because she is from the filler after the 23rd World Tournament. So Anine wouldn't actually be on like the Dragon Ball side of things. And since Roshi actually does lead Boyhood Saga as one of his 170s, so he leads, again, the guaranteed 200% to Peppy Gal, so you want to run him, again, flood him with Peppy Gals, you want to run 4 of them. But he leads Turtle School and then Boyhood Saga, Dragon Ball Saga, whatever you want to call it. Boyhood makes the most amount of sense because it obviously excludes once Goku is like a teenager, which is, I still think, a silly mistake. And there are a couple of things that Dokkan really does need to remedy. I feel like the friend system is obviously one of like the biggest ones, but unifying category names or changing category names is a big one. Because there are a lot of times where you actually look at a category and characters who are excluded from it are kind of bullshit. Calling it Boyhood Saga was stupid on the JP part. Because again, 23rd World Tournament Goku, Jr., they don't have a home. They don't have a category that they are a part of. When, you know, at the bare minimum, they should make a 23rd World Tournament category. At the very least. Or, like, call it something like the Young Adult Saga. That way Anine would have a home. That way, all these different characters would actually have a place that they could fall into. But, I don't know, this was just a dumb mistake on their part, and then it was even more dumb from the localization team to just call it Dragon Ball Saga, because it doesn't make sense, because, you know, a lot of characters actually aren't on the Dragon Ball Saga, just throwing that out there. But, all things aside, no matter who we get, I feel like we are going to get some more original Dragon Ball representation, which is good. Again, there are plenty of, like, really good characters. Personally, I think I would want a Launch and a Mai when she was with the Pilaf gang. I feel like that would probably be the most fun. It is maybe a little bit hard to separate Mai back then from, like, Pilaf and, what's his name, Shu? Is that the dog? Is that his name? Mai, Pilaf, and Shu? I think that's their name. But as, like, the original villains of Dragon Ball, the fact that, like, Pilaf himself doesn't even have, like, a unit, I feel like is a little bit disrespectful. I mean, I know he has, like, the World Tournament card or whatever, but, like, that doesn't count, man. That's a World Tournament. That's a free-to-play. Too many Dragon Ball Saga characters are free-to-play. See, the thing is, I don't even understand why, because, like, in Japan, original Dragon Ball is fucking huge. I know internationally it's not, but, like, I feel like it has to be financially smart for them when considering the Japanese player base to be like, hey, let's give some more original Dragon Ball content. But again, I know there's like literally a huge portion of the fandom that to this day has not seen original Dragon Ball. I mean, I don't know, man. And that kind of makes me worried a little bit about like Daima, like, because Daima is going to be very original Dragon Ball-esque, so some of like these new viewers, they might watch it and they might not get it or understand it. I don't know. I'm a huge fan. I'm so excited for Daima. I won't exist. You guys won't hear from me for like 7 months when Daima comes out. Although apparently we might be getting Daima content at the same time, so maybe you will. Maybe you will. You guys might get lucky. You might get a little bit lucky. I might make some guest appearances here or there. But like we're getting Daima and Sparking Zero like back to back within like a month of each other. Dude, Dragon Ball is going to devour my life so hardcore. But I'm all for it. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are about the Peppy Gal team. Again, I don't think Peppy Gal as like a full category lead will be like super good. I mean, we saw like with 21 is actually the other leader for Peppy Gal, and at the time you couldn't really run just a pure Peppy Gal team. But we're kind of in a spot where like we probably can, because Roshi will like lock down slot 2 and 3. He has a lot of other really good slot 2 or 3 options. There are a couple of niche options like Ribrianne, this Caulifla in certain situations. Obviously, you're going to be running him with a UI Goku. So it shouldn't be the hardest thing in the world to actually run a pseudo pure Peppy Gal team, I know because running 2 Roshi is a little bit funny, and if we ever do get a mission that's run 6 Peppy Gals, Roshi will not be in the equation. I feel like without Roshi, this isn't even a discussion, because yes, he's giving insane amount of support, and he's going to be doing like a majority of the damage. Again, the only character that we've even discussed so far today who I think should be able to keep up with what Roshi is going to be offering offensively would be Kefla, because they are both S tier units who are stacking, meaning at the bare minimum they're both going to have that 5 crit in the hit of potential system, meaning each attack they have a 10% chance to crit. And there are a lot of like niche things you can do. Like I know we've talked about some of the more like big headliner units, but Android 21, she has certainly fallen off because she's one of these characters who has to get hit a single time before she gets really good. And I know getting hit once doesn't sound like a big deal. We have characters like Beast Gohan who thrive after getting hit just once. But this is the character because she has 2023 stats. Even in 2023, she had lower stats to be fair. But she has a lot of potential. Like she has a guaranteed stun after she does 6 attacks, if I'm not mistaken. It's guaranteed crit after. But if we're looking here, she just, like, look at this. Like this alone is what makes her kind of unrunnable. She is giving like support or whatever. Her Majin form is pretty good. She has a very good active skill as well. So you could run her. There are some very good like this is a good free to play unit who like orb changes and has damage reduction. I've heard that this Chi-Chi is actually pretty good. I don't know what she does off the top of my head. This is a unit who's actually could maybe see some relevancy here because I mean, this is just orb changing. She would not be able to reach like her maximum potential, but maybe with all these other units you could hide around, maybe she could get some time in the sun. This is a unit who I've always been very, 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 very high on. Now, this is a character who has multiple stun chances, so in a fight like Cell Max, you are able to keep him to stun lock, seal lock once you get him below that final HP threshold, and she is just a 70% chance to dodge character after she hits an enemy with a super attack. So outside of like AoE events, this is going to be a very, very, very good character. You wouldn't be able to get her buff because she supports space traveling warriors. No, she's time travelers, and then she does better against Future Saga category enemies, which, you know, that is a little bit of a shame. But if you just need a good solid unit who, again, 70% of the time she's going to be doing fine, that is a unit who I feel like was majorly slept on just because we were in an AoE meta, and Fusion Zamasu just kind of nullified everything that she offered, which was really stupid. But to be fair, that's just what that fight was. I don't think it's nearly as bad as a lot of people claim it was to be. This is a unit who could also maybe get some relevancy. Now, this is a character who can just get up to 66% chance to dodge. So if we're looking at a lot of these other characters who have like the guaranteed dodge or 70% dodge, we have a character with 88% dodge. They will not make the most amount of impact, I would say, but they are a defensive stacker. You know, obviously they do launch a lot of additionals. They can maybe carry the team in terms of offense. Kale is a character who I'm a fan of, but I don't think would really work too well on this team, because since Roshi has to go in slot 2, it would be really hard to line them up with a Caulifla. But I am still a fan of this character. I haven't seen a lot of usage of them since, you know, like past 9th anniversary stuff, so I don't actually know how well they would perform. But I've been a Kale defender. You know, in the past I've said that she has sucked, but I've gone back on that statement multiple times using her in different events, and I actually am a fan. And especially, again, with all of this fucking support, dude, like, there is absurd levels of support. 39% here, 37% for 2 turns here, 50% here, 50% here. A lot of these characters who probably weren't relevant might be able to be run in here just because they're going to be flooded with so much extra offensive and defensive support. A lot of these characters who might not be able to cross the damage threshold for, you know, Frieza and Goku, now they might be able to. Like, genuinely, I know, again, we have 2 stackers on the team, 2 offensive stackers, potentially 3 if this is the character who easy A's, which I feel like is the most likely. Again, it could be Kale and Caulifla, and I don't think anyone would really complain about that, but I don't know, I feel like this is probably the more likely pick, because she also, do you guys lead Peppy Gal? No, you are Bond of Friendship and Rapid Growth, so it would maybe make a little bit more sense to easy A you, just because you actually do lead Peppy Gal. So for whatever reason you don't get Roshi, you could still use this character and then just run a friend Roshi, which probably wouldn't work as well because Ally of Justice, that's Defenders of Justice. I don't think there's a single Turtle School character who would be on Defender of Justice. I guess just for the sake of argument, we can check. Is there any Turtle School, your Turtle School, but I don't think you would be able to be run. You just have 30% damage reduction and guard for like 3 turns. I think that's all you offer. And yeah, going onto page 2 is not necessarily the greatest look. You're also on Turtle School, I think, but I think you're even worse than the Angel SSJ3 one. So yeah, it's a little bit grim. It's a little bit grim. So probably wouldn't be the best pick. because then you couldn't run a friend Roshi, but you could run just maybe a full Peppy Gal team, just because the team would be so flooded with support. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. But I really do think that Peppy Gal, because of Roshi, and because, again, we're going to be getting 2 brand new units, we don't know what those 2 units are going to be, and those are 2 more units who are going to be in limbo for the global version of the game, as far as I am aware. I mean, there is a chance we'll get the Peppy Gal banner instead of getting, like, Jiren or Cell Max or something during the Topo celebration, which I think is, I mean, it would be cool, but respectfully, I would much rather have Jiren than the brand new Peppy Gal units. I mean, maybe the brand new Peppy Gal units will actually fucking shit stomp anything and everything that Jiren could offer us. Like, that, there is technically a chance. Because, again, Sheila is probably the best aging character in Dokkan history, and probably will be the best aging character in Dokkan history. I know people are like, well, what about Tech Ultimate Gohan? Tech Ultimate Gohan, even before his EZA, you could run him in all the... Can you run Tech Ultimate Gohan without a leader skill? I rest my case. Oh, well, what about dodge nullifying? Well, guess what? Tech Ultimate Gohan was probably dead in those fights, too. Let's be real. They actually made Sheila too good. Yeah, I know you can say that about any dodging unit, and that probably... You could say that about... I literally made a video just the other day talking about how, like, you could use a dodging unit from the first year of this game's anniversary, and theoretically, if all the 1s and 0s are in your favor, that unit will never get caught, and you will actually win because of a dodging, like, tech, or Inchinimba. You could run Inchinimba. And if he never gets hit, you could still win. Just because, again, dodge, it does have problems like that, but she's offering so much more than just her dodge. Obviously, there is the Rainbow Orb changing, there's the healing that she offers, there's the massive support that she gives to the whole rotation, and the Scouter. Again, she's not doing damage, but we're not even going to pretend that, like, that is her point by any means. So, I don't know, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think. There is a chance. There's a chance that whatever we do get could potentially be incredibly meta-defining. If I'm looking at the Peppy Gal team, I think giving them just a good defensive option, not a dodging unit, because this team is pretty reliant on dodge, especially with, like, the examples that I brought up today. So if we could have a competent slot 1 unit who, like, even if we had, like, just another Int Dodoria. Int Dodoria is not very great, but at least Int Dodoria in certain situations can go into slot 1, and he would be able to tank. I mean, if we have a character who can at least tank most of the attacks in slot 1, I feel like that would be pretty good, instead of having to rely on, you know, just pure dodge. But, like, Ribrianne will be huge on this team, because, again, you just need 2 other Peppy Gals. Roshi wants to be run with as many Peppy Gals as humanly possible. I know that you have to run at least 1 other Goku, or 1 other Krillin, or whatever you want to run. I mean, I feel sure you would want to run the Gokus, because if we're just looking here, I would argue this is probably the best unit to run, but I was using this unit as an example because he has the domain that gets rid of dodge nullification. And since so many of the characters that we mentioned today are dodgers, I feel like this would be a much bigger impact on the team. But, like, yeah, no, once you kind of get to, like, here, you know, like, the options kind of fall off a cliff, if I'm being honest. Which is crazy. Like, I mean, this guy is good, but you need other Majin Buu Saga. But, I mean, Videl, if Videl does EZA, you could run this guy on the team instead. I don't know if he would offer more than this character, but he would offer more offense, which could potentially help. And he would be a good, he's a better slot 1 unit for sure, especially early on in the fight, because he has, you know, the 90% damage reduction, then the 70, then the 50, then the 30, and the 0, but he gets that extra damage reduction for the amount of supers that he performs, so, and he has guards, so you could have, there could be a rotation where you have this guy slot 1, EZA Videl slot 2, Roshi slot 3, and that rotation would just be living. Even if they made STR Videl's EZA kind of meh, which I doubt because the EZAs this year, outside of Bardock and Super Vegeta, every major EZA this year has been very, very good, very, very competent, and, like, very useful, very, like, versatile. I would say that this has probably been the best year for EZAs ever. I know a lot of people are talking about, like, the Dokkan Festival have been very good, every LR is being very good, the difficult content has been good for the most part. Not enough people have been gassing up these EZAs. Like, the EZAs this year have probably, like, in this game's history, EZAs have never been more powerful. By any means. Like, this guy is still arguably, where would I put you? Beast, Cellmax, probably you, actually. Then Tech UI, then SSBE. Yeah, like the 3rd best unit in the game or something along those lines. Very, very good. Very, 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 very good. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Who do you guys want to see on the Peppy Gal banner? Again, my choices would be, I guess, Lanfan, Launch. I feel like Launch is almost a guarantee, because she also showed up in Dragon Ball The Breakers, a couple of months ago. So, I don't know. I feel like the Dragon Ball games, sometimes they coincide stuff. I wouldn't be opposed to a new Mai. I would like a Mai that would have a different name, potentially. So, like, having her from original Dragon Ball Saga would be pretty good. Chi-Chi, she hasn't gotten any love in a while. I feel like Chi-Chi would be really, really good. But, I mean, we could get, like, so many different characters, and Mean hasn't gotten representation in forever. What is Goku's mom's name? Gine? Is that her name? Gine has never gotten a standalone unit. Gine would be probably a pretty good pick. Again, she wouldn't fit, like, the Dragon Ball Saga theme, but, I mean, does that really, really matter? I mean, Zangia, she could get a unit. We haven't ever gotten just a good standalone Zangia. Zangia could maybe get some representation. I mean, Bra. There's all these characters. Look at all these characters, and, like, none of them have gotten any, like, good or real representation in forever. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you think we're going to get. Do you think my opinions are correct that PEPPY Gal will actually be one of the best teams in the game? Obviously, they're not touching a team like Tournament of Power, or what is it? Tournament Participants, Tournament of Power, Reps of Universe 7, Superheroes. Like, those are on a whole different tier. But when you, like, go down from the God tier, you go down to next, what do you have? You have, like, Super Bosses, and then I think it's literally Super Bosses, and then this. Like, I might be wrong, I might be gassing up this team a little bit, but PEPPY Gal, like, historically, has always been full of gimmicks, which is probably one of the reasons why they haven't been seen super favorably, because gimmicks are only fun while they're working, and then the second they start... Are you called bloomers? Dude, the translation's really funny. Fucking bloomers. I mean, I know that's what... Bulma is underwear, but I did just notice that fucking bloomers. Alright, and your lunch instead of launch. Although that's actually your name in the JP, if I'm not mistaken. I think your actual name is Lunch, because, you know, the food theming of Dragon Ball and everything, and we changed it to Launch. I might be wrong about that, but I think that's what it is. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know who you want. Let me know what you might be expecting. Do you think that we'll get the PEPPY Gal banner before the sync? Do you think that we still have a chance of getting, like, Cell Max or Jiren or any of these other characters that are going to be stuck in limbo? Or do you think that these PEPPY Gal units are going to be stuck in limbo? And what do you think? Do you actually think Roshi could potentially be as good as I'm gassing him up to be? I mean, if you just run Roshi, UI, and then these 4 units, I feel like that's actually a very meta-relevant team. You could swap out a character for Ribrianne, you could swap out a character for Tech Caulifla. There are a lot of options. Again, a lot of gimmicks, but gimmicks are only as fun as until they work. But, like, a lot of the gimmicks are actually pretty good. I mean, Mamba in of herself, Mamba's not a character who can tank, but Mamba's a character who can debuff. And there are a lot of fights where you can debuff, so I don't know. Could this be Mamba's resurgence? She also has a stun, doesn't she? Don't you have a stun? If the target is an attack down or defensive down status, she gets an extra 500% attack for 1 turn. She gets guaranteed crits, and then she gets an attack break. Bro, that's insane. Dude, Mamba's about to be meta-relevant. Oh, and weapon supers. Truth. Weapon supers. Use her in all the difficult content, bro. Get you that achievement. But yeah. I've tried to wrap up this video like 6 times, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. But yeah, that's going to be all for this time, guys. I've been the Super27. I'm a variety Twitch streamer and an up-and-coming PNG YouTuber trying to make it big in the world. I have a Twitter, a Twitch, a TikTok, and a YouTube, the links to which can all be found in the description of this video. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, share me around, and leave me a comment, positive, negative, or indifferent. I would love just any sort of interaction I can get from you guys. But yeah, that'll be all for now. So, as always, I've been the Super27, and I am signing off.